5 Star Life Radio. Learn more about 5 Star Life at 5starlife.org.
Welcome back to 5 Star Life Radio. I'm Coach Seth. You're listening to 5 Star Life Radio on 95.3 MNC. I'm joined in studio with my co-host, Coach Mia.
Thanks, Seth. So you were telling us and teaching us about adversity, and you had a friend that went through this.
Yeah, and we're talking about how to restore confidence. And the number one killer of confidence is adversity. And we were talking in the first segment just about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences that really do so much damage in a person's life. I was actually just talking to a individual who works with people who are trapped, addicted to substances. They're abusing substances. And you know, she used to work with kids, and she was telling me, she's like, these adults I'm working with 45 and 65-year-old people who have all these experiences that happened in childhood that they never learned to deal with. So here they are. And so the power of 5 Star Life is empowering and equipping kids with the tools while they're young, so they're not 45 and 65 addicted, strung out, or struggling silently or quietly on an island wondering what's wrong with them and almost just living in survival mode, not thriving, not living life to the full, not feeling good about who they are, not living like a productive, great life. And that's what we want for kids. And so I think I left off, I was talking about my friend who really experienced, we talked about all the different adverse childhood experiences. It can be poverty, it can be having a parent incarcerated or having a loved one who's sick, or you name it, abuse, sexual, verbal abuse, all these different things are adverse, they're traumatic. And so my friend intuitively decided, you know, my mom's addictions are not going to determine who I'm going to be. My dad's incarceration is not going. In other words, these labels, because these experiences can label us. Mm-hmm. And even my own molestation, it labeled me as damaged goods or dirty or whatever. And so what my friend did is he was like, I'm ripping these labels off. I'm taking the limits off of my life, and I'm surrounding myself with people that are successful. And so he started to experience athletic success because he hung out with successful athletes. And he really allowed a coach, a local coach, to take him under his wing, and he just absorbed all the knowledge of this coach called Lawrence, who is a legend in the city of Saginaw. He passed about 10 years ago, but he's an absolute legend. Mm-hmm. Just a coach, coached rec league, and just an incredible man. Long story short, Monquez got a scholarship to play football at Michigan State, full ride scholarship. He was also close to a 4.0 student. So between academics and football, he got his college paid for. He won bowl games. He played for legendary, Hall of Fame coach Nick Saban. Had a little stint in the NFL with some different teams, and then went on into business where he just has continued to succeed. And I just actually spoke to him last week, congratulated him. He just got a new position. He's a VP of a company where he's making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and he's just doing great. Mm-hmm. And he was telling me how his upbringing, because I just asked him, like, Quez, you are a true, you're one of those American dream stories. I mean, grew up in the hood with everything against you, and people today in society basically point to people like you and say, they write you off, and they say there's too many things going wrong, they're not going to make it. And he just said, Seth, he said, I'm so grateful for my upbringing. So what do you mean? He said, I learned so much from my mom and dad. I learned everything from my mom and dad. I said, explain that. He said, I learned everything not to do.
Wow. So he turned most people would turn that bitterness, and they would hold that against their parents. Yep. How wise.
So he just I learned exactly what not to do. I'm not going to use, when kids would offer me drugs or offer me different things, or ask me to do them a favor, and that favor is going to make you a little bit of money, but could put you in a bad situation. He said, I just had such a conviction because I knew where it led people in my life. Father incarcerated, mom addicted. I had zero interest interest. And so, honestly, that stuff that is often tempted to young kids, it didn't tempt me at all. I had no interest because I knew what I wanted.
Oh.
So, ultimately, Monquez is his name. He ripped off, he had the courage, and I think that's truly what we challenge kids to do, is have the courage to face those demons, to face those things that happen. We like to run from them. We like to kind of cover them up and hide them. Excuse me. Or we like to just bury them, or we like to just talk and get the pity party going and manipulate other people to get attention. We become toxic, right? And what we teach kids is have the courage to actually look at those things that happened and the labels that were stuck to you and rip those negative labels: abused, neglected, poor, this, that. Rip those things off and then relabel yourself. Successful, strong, whole, hardworking, good student, good person, trustworthy. You have to relabel yourself. And there's something so profoundly powerful when kids latch onto this and start to realize, ultimately, I have the power.
Right. I don't have to wait for somebody else.
I don't have to live being a victim of my situation. And unfortunately, so many people live their lives as victims, in victimhood. And there's a lot of bad information out there that actually encourages people to do that. And so ultimately, there's a fine line between just totally brushing under the rug and saying, this is not going to define me, exposing it, ripping it off, identifying it, and then saying, who do I want to be? And who am I? And then going after that and living into that picture.
That's good. Seth, so what are some things that, like, how can someone get there? Like, what are the first things that you can start to do to turn your situation around?
So, the first thing to do is you got to stand up and just say, hold on, look at my life. Is this what I want? Am I okay with staying here? Like these emotions, these feelings I have that are holding me back. Am I okay with staying here? Because at some point you go from again, I'm not knocking the idea of being a victim, because some of the things that happened, you were a victim.
Right.
But there's a point where you have to say, this happened months ago or years ago, for some people decades ago. And the reality is, I am no longer a victim. I'm an individual with choices, with freedom, and I have power. And I think acknowledging that you're no longer a victim is one of the first steps to getting unstuck and to getting out of that situation. When we continue to talk about what our parents didn't do for us, when we continue to talk about what our bosses or our friends or the people that betrayed us, I mean, every time we go there, what we're doing is we're drumming up our past, and we're basically re-victimizing ourselves. And so it's no longer the other person that's doing it. We're doing it to ourselves. We become the bully. We become the one that's keeping us locked down. And I mean, it sounds, when you put it that way, it sounds kind of insane. And that's kind of what it is. And it's why mental health experts would call that some kind of mental illness, because now we are damaging our own selves, right? And we're staying stuck in this cycle.
What would be the next step?
The next step we're going to talk about in another segment, because there's some things that you can do that really empower you to restore confidence. But one of the things we'll hit just before we wrap for the break is you've got to really get that picture, that image of who you want to be. And, I went from abused or dirty or damaged goods, and I had to relabel myself with whole, with pure, with good, with not my fault. So I had to reframe the experience, because as a kid, you feel dirty, you feel like it's your fault. And so I had to reframe that and just relabel myself so that when those emotions come, I can say, no, that's not who I am. That's not how it is. I'm good. I'm a strong. I'm at peace. I'm a whole. I'm not a broken person. That situation will not define me. So that when you relabel yourself, you're standing your ground and you're re-identifying, redefining who you are.
So you're saying when this thought comes up, then that's when you have this new picture, this new label. For you, was it just words, or did you really like start to visualize like yourself as like a strong person or
Yeah, I mean, literally part of it too, you know, the people in your life can really help you with this. And my parents were able to, because I spoke to them and shared with them what happened, they were able to, on the spot, just say, that's not your fault. Mm. So that label was ripped off pretty quick because like they just removed that from my mind. And so I knew like, oh, it's not my fault. Mm-hmm. And I went with that, right? I was like, I'm good. I'm not dirty. I'm not damaged goods because of this. The other person has the issue. And so I felt pity for the other person. And I realized that person's mentally ill. That person has issues, not me.
Right.
And so I was able to stand on that knowing like, I'm good. Bad situation. Wasn't good, but it's over. I'm fine. And I don't have to live in fear. I don't have to live feeling less than because of it.
Right. We're going to take a commercial break, and we'll be back for more 5 Star Life Radio.
This is 5 Star Life Radio on News Talk 95.3 Michiana's News Channel, your breaking news and weather station.